number. And my friends, talking about people with a lot of heart, a lot of guts, a lot of courage, it is now my distinct honor and pleasure to be joined by the executive director of the Edmund Burke Institute, Dr. Grace Vuoto. Dr. Grace has an absolutely sizzling op-ed piece in today's Washington Times. I urge all of you to go read it. Go to www.washingtontimes.com. The piece is called Sliding Towards Infanticide. Dr. Grace, welcome back to the Kuhner Show.
Hello, Jeff. It's great to be on.
It's great to have you on. So for all of our listeners out there, what is the basic theme and thrust of your piece in today's Washington Times?
The thrust, Jeff, is that America is now becoming a killing machine of unborn babies, both at home and abroad. When then Senator Barack Obama was campaigning, if you recalled, he said, as he was trying to present himself as some kind of a Christian, that even though he is pro-choice, he was going to work really hard to at least find some common ground to limit the number of abortions that would be committed in America. However, since he came to power, we see that what he's actually done is he is giving as much access and as much funds as possible to America's abortion machine, both at home and abroad. These acts are absolutely disgraceful, and that's what the piece is about.
Now, in particular, what is he doing to encourage abortion here and encourage abortion abroad?
Well, there was a real uproar that broke out quite recently. You had a couple of states, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Mexico. They were creating these high-risk pools where essentially they were going to be establishing Obamacare. And it was obvious that they were not going to ensure that there would be federal funds going to these abortion centers. So pro-life groups cried out, saying, you can't give our money, federal taxpayer dollars, to any organization in America that commits abortions. The president issued an executive order saying that that was accurate, that he didn't want that to happen. However, the problem with Obamacare is that there are nonetheless going to be these so many various aspects of it where it will be impossible to prevent taxpayer funds to go towards abortion. That's what he's doing at home. Essentially, Obamacare is creating such a huge bureaucratic tangle that it will be impossible to police here and actually committing abortions here.
It's happening in Pennsylvania. It's happening in Maryland. Federal taxpayer dollars are now being used to subsidize high-risk insurance pools, which will enable people to get abortions paid for by taxpayer dollars, correct?
Well, essentially through the executive order, he's trying to stop that. He did say that that was not permissible, but the point is that the executive order is not it's not really a law. It's not statutorily binding, and so in order to prevent federal funds from going to actually supporting abortions in this country, we need legislation to stop it. What was dropped in the appropriations bills during the Obamacare debate was the Hyde Amendment, and that was actually a protection to ensure that federal funds would not go towards abortions. Now, with the onset of Obamacare, as I said, it'll be impossible to prevent these funds from going to various centers that will commit abortions. And there's even a tax credit that is given to lower-income people, and they can obviously use it for plans that will give them abortion. So the point is that all of our funds are now going to be used to support abortion. So America is no longer divided between those who absolutely don't want to participate in abortion in any way, shape, or form and those who do. We now have the federal government committed to this, and as much as they try to deny it, as much as they try to fudge it, it's obvious that federal funds will go through the back door towards abortion coverage in this country.
Now, you make a very interesting point. You are now saying in many ways, as you point out in your piece, we are now reverting to the old pagan world in which we are now sacrificing babies and devaluing unborn human life, correct?
That is absolutely absolutely correct. And what I show in the piece is I really use my extensive historical knowledge, and I bring that to bear on this contemporary issue. Essentially, the killing of babies has been going on for centuries with impunity. That is to say, infanticide was approved by the ancients. It was state sanctioned. You could let a baby die either by exposure, malnutrition, sacrificing it to the gods. Essentially, it took centuries of Judeo-Christian teaching to lift our level of morality and to convey the idea that human life is absolutely precious regardless of how tiny it is. Even though by 588 AD, the Council of Constantinople had declared that infanticide is homicide, babies were still killed. I mean, even if for a whole host of reasons, including sex selection. Babies were killed throughout the Middle Ages and really for centuries thereafter with little impunity. And it took centuries to convey to individuals that they should not kill babies. If they didn't want them, at least drop them off in front of a nursing, a facility, a hospital, or people that would actually take care of them. So what we're doing now by breaking down all the barriers is we're slowly creating a society where we're reverting back to the ancient disregard for human life, especially if that life is tiny, especially if that life seems to be, weak, it is vulnerable, and if it interferes with what adults want to do, then it's expendable. That's how ancients used to view tiny human life, and that is the trajectory that we are now embarking on. If it seems to get in the way, if the baby seems to be an inconvenience, just kill it. And now in America, what we're saying is, hey, it's okay to do this while the baby's in the womb, but my concern is today it's okay while it's in the womb. Tomorrow it will be okay when it's just born.
And if you look at Europe, you look at the spread of euthanasia. Now the elderly are slowly being killed. People that are deemed unproductive. You now have sex selection growing. You now have people looking to see if the child's going to be born in any way with a special needs or in any way handicapped. And so they're committing abortions to prevent that from happening. In other words, we are slowly becoming Joseph Mengele. We are now becoming a society in which human life is being devalued, discarded, degraded, and we're almost playing God. We're now trying to say who gets to live, who gets to die. This is how you're going to look. This is what the characteristics we want you to have. Is this not eventually where we're going down towards?
Yeah, it's a really slippery slope, and that's what I fear. Essentially, the whole abortion agenda is predicated on the idea that individuals should be allowed to maximize their pleasure or wealth, right? The idea is that, well, you know what, you can have a consequence-free sex, have as much sex as you want, and if you happen to get pregnant, and that's an inconvenience to you, well, just get rid of it. Or, if you happen to get pregnant and you really want to climb the social ladder and you want to make money, like the fact that Obama promotes his abortion policies abroad, basically the idea is that he wants to lift women out of poverty. So essentially, like, if a baby is an inconvenience to your wealth or to your pleasure, well, just get rid of it. Well, that's really, really a dangerous idea, because if human life isn't sacred, period, then I fear that even when it's born, if it's in any way inconvenient, it can be dispensed with. I think that what's major here, what's really huge in the Obama administration is that those of us who fervently oppose abortion, we now cannot prevent our taxpayer dollars from going towards this killing machine. And it's not just a killing machine at home. It's a killing machine abroad. Obama is actively promoting what they call, quote-unquote, reproductive health abroad. Our taxpayer dollars are being used for that. That is a reversal of a policy, the Mexico City policy that was upheld during the Bush administration. There is no getting around it. When you work and when you send the government your money, you are basically in part funneling this American killing machine at home and abroad. It is outrageous. It is disgusting. All Christians, all traditionalists, all who value human life have to act fervently. We have to speak with one voice, and we have to be relentless to bring this to an end.